trickling into. Hello, hello. You've trickled into the main room. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Well, thank you for being patient with us while we sorted out all the technical problems, but we are full military afterburner at this point. My name is Chad Gates. You've seen me in a couple other sessions this week, and you have joined our session, which is all about judging, being the chief judge, being a voting judge, all of those things. Our chief judge extraordinaire for District 44, Fran Ellis, is going to be giving the training tonight. So welcome into Judging with Integrity by Fran Ellis. Fran, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chad. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Judging with integrity. What a lesson to learn. We want to be a good judge. Step number one is filling out the judge's certification of eligibility and code of ethics. That's the beginning. I'm going to see if I can increase the size of this and see what you can see. Filling this out, of course, you will need to complete this and send it to the contest chair before the contest begins. The first little bubble is what type of contest, the name of the contest. This year, of course, we know we'll have international, as we always do, and we will have tall tales. At the contest level, you're going to want to note whether that is club level, area level, division level, or district level. If you go above that and do judging at the international level, you will fill out one of those following. I'm not there yet, but maybe one day I will be. Your eligibility. To be a chief judge, a voting judge, or a tie-breaking judge at a Toastmasters speech contest, you must meet all eligibility requirements identified below. At a club contest, you only have to be a paid member. At an area, division, or district contest, there's a couple of more requirements. Be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months and have completed a minimum of 6 speech projects in the Competent Communicator Manual, which is the old legacy program, or earn certificates of completion in levels 1 and 2 of any path in Toastmasters Pathways Learning Experience. Only members who joined Toastmasters prior to the rollout of Pathways, which I believe was in 2017, in their region can apply speeches from the Competent Communicator Manual towards eligibility for judging. At the International Speech Contest quarterfinals, semifinals, and World Championship of Public Speaking, there are also additional requirements. That you be a paid member is one of the standing requirements for a minimum of 6 months, and the club must also be in good standing. You have to be at least an advanced Toastmaster bronze or advanced communicator bronze, or have completed at least one path in the Toastmasters Pathways Learning Experience. And again, only those members who joined after Pathways was rolled out qualify for the Competent Communicator or Competent Leader bronze. And this is something you will see throughout my presentation today, the judge's certification of eligibility and code of ethics. I will repeat this many times today, but let's go over what those are. I will uphold the Toastmasters core values of integrity, service, respect, and excellence. I will demonstrate the utmost objectivity by conscientiously avoiding bias of any kind in selecting first, second, and third place contestants. I will not consider any contestant's club, area, division, district, or region affiliation. I will not consider any contestant's age, race, color, creed, gender, gender identity, gender expression, national or ethnic origin, sexual orientation, or physical or mental disability. Whether you know of any of those things about the contestants, you will still not consider them. I will support by word and deed the contest rules and judging standards, refrain from public criticism, of the contest and only reveal my participation as a judge, my selected scores, and the ranking I assigned in accordance with speech contest rules. I am not a member of the same club as any contestant when judging at the division, district, quarterfinal, semifinal, and final levels. What does that mean? You can judge at the club level. Number 8, and the final one, I have no conflict of interest with any of the contestants that would cause me to be biased. And you will sign this and certify that you are eligible under the current speech contest rules and will uphold this code of ethics. It asks you for your name, your member number, your district, and signing and dating. And you will turn that in as soon as possible, as soon as you are contacted and as soon as you agree to be a judge to the contest chair or whatever contest you have agreed to do. Toastmaster core values. These are things that we're going to do to prepare our integrity. Objectivity, non-discriminatory, don't watch the time. Confidentiality, no conflict of interest, and not be a member of the same club or even related to a contestant. And I think we need to add not even dating. Do those sound familiar? Yes, they just were repeated in the judge's ethic. So let's look at the Toastmaster core values, which I love to repeat all the time. I might not have them in the order that you know them because I always look at the acronym RISE: respect, integrity, service, and excellence. Sometimes it's not easy to remember them unless you have something to juggle your memory. What are some barriers to being objective when you're a judge? I'm going to skip this one and go to the next one. I've got it out of order. But here are some general barriers to objectivity. The speaker position. Sometimes we hear a wonderful speech at the beginning of the contest and we think, oh, that is awesome. We've assigned them a lot of high numbers. And then on the third speaker, somebody comes on and you think, wow, was that more awesome than the other one? And how do I deal with that? Being a champion for the underdog. Maybe you've seen this contestant in several contests in the past several years, and they've never quite made it to number one, and you're just going to pull for them. That is a barrier to your objectivity because what you are judging is this current presentation, this current speech in this particular contest, not something that's been done in the past. The halo effect. We all have certain predispositions about people, and the halo effect thinks, okay, that guy must have been quarterback, or that girl was a cheerleader, and so she must be good at what she does, everything she does, or he does. That's the halo effect, putting that golden glow around that person, and they must be a good speaker because they look like a good speaker. What is the reverse halo effect? The reverse halo effect is exactly the opposite. That person has spiky hair or too many tattoos, and we don't particularly think that they're going to be a good speaker because of that. I can't imagine why anyone would think that that had anything to do with their speaking ability. However, sometimes we do that in our minds and we don't realize it. Second time around, it's kind of similar to champion for the underdog. If this is their second choice or their second time that they've competed in this particular speech contest, and you want to say, well, they didn't win last year, so maybe I'll give them a little higher score. Nope. Give someone else a chance. I've seen that one a couple of times. When you've heard someone for the past several years give a speech and they always win, well, how is it that you're going to say, well, they haven't won, but the other guy is in competition as well. Should he win, or should I be a little bit biased in giving that score? And then not the norm. Maybe their speech is a little on the wild side or a little out there. And you think, well, that might not go so far, but you're not doing the judging on whether or not you like the speech. you're doing the judging based upon the criteria for the contest that you are doing. Okay. Use the ballot for the contest you are judging. Again, this is the judge's code of ethics. Why is it on this particular slide? It's on this slide because it's part of your ballot. It is on the back side of your ballot. It is exactly the same 8 qualifications or code of ethics codes that I presented earlier. And you will also sign this on the back of your ballot. I'm sorry, on the back of your certification form to say, I agree to these ethics. Once again, keep in mind, your ballot is your tool of fairness. That's what's going to keep you having the integrity that you want to have to be a judge and a good, fair judge. Let's look at this particular international speech ballot. There are 3 main categories: content, delivery, and language. Content, if you look at the scores, excellent all the way down, 50% is content, and that's what you're judging on. We'll look at the backside in a little bit on this one, well, on both of them. But one of the things is speech value. And I want to talk a little bit about that because there was a question the other day. I will compare it to our Tall Tales contest in a little bit to see what we're talking about when we talk about speech value. The second category is delivery, and that is 30% of your score. So these top 2, we're going to give a lot of weight to what your final score turns out to be. And then language, appropriateness and correctness, appropriate to the speech purpose, because we're going to talk about that in a minute too when we look at the Tall Tales ballot. And correctness and grammar. Sometimes on a Tall Tales, you'll have a certain type of speech. Maybe it's London or British, or maybe, and there's words that they use that we would not think were appropriate, but it would be appropriate maybe to the speech. So think about that when you're providing the scores. Let's look at the back of this content. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, yeah, do that. Okay, judging criteria, purpose of the speech. This is for the International Speech Contest. And this enables members to practice public speaking and content development in a competitive setting. The topic and the purpose of each speech is determined by the speaker. Every speech should fit within the overall purpose of the contest to clearly develop and present ideas in a substantially original speech. When we talk about originality, we always talk about originality in international context because no more than 25% of the speech can be quotes, information from a book that they have to give the reference to, and anything that is outside of their own mind in creating this speech. The speech development is the way that the contestant puts together so that the audience can understand what their purpose is. It's structured as a beginning, an opening, a middle, a body. Sometimes people use the 3 points, sometimes they don't. They are just telling a story, and maybe it's a timeline when they're giving their speech. And a conclusion. And then we talked about the value of the speech. On an international speech, the value is how the speaker says something meaningful and original to the audience. The listeners, especially the judges, should feel that the speaker has made a contribution to their thinking. So make your speech make someone think. The ideas should be important ones, although this does not preclude a humorous presentation of them. Speakers do not have to be non-humorous. As a matter of fact, humor is a very good strategy to use when you need to break the tension that is created by the seriousness of the purpose that you are trying to convey. Speech value justifies the act of speaking. We'll talk about whether there's value in tall tales when we get there. The delivery, the physical presentation of a speech, we're looking for vocal variety. I mean, we're looking for gestures. We're looking for props if they're using them. We're looking for how well they make use of the designated speaking area. Vocal variety is one thing that you can use. It can be flexible, moving from pitch to one level of pitch to another for emphasis, perhaps even going as low as whispering or as loud as shouting. Good variety. And a good voice can be clearly heard and the words are easily understood. Manner, which is another portion of delivery, is the indirect revelation of the speaker's real self. Are they connecting with the audience? Do you feel that they feel the pain that they in the speech or the joy in the speech that they're giving? Those are the things you need to think about when you're judging. And then language, appropriateness of language refers to the choice of words. When you think of appropriateness, I think many people, like I did the first few times I judged, was did they use any bad words, which we've tried to avoid, but sometimes they're necessary. But when it's filled with them, then maybe you want to consider the language, whether it was appropriate. But again, if you're doing a different kind of speech, sometimes the language is going to be a little bit different. For example, a Cajun dialect. Okay, let's go to the Tall Tales contest. These categories represent different percentages of the value of this, the scoring of the speech. First is content, which is only 30%. There needs to be an opening, a build-up, a climax, and smoothness of transitions when they're going from one thing to another. Speech techniques is what counts the most in Tall Tales. One, the effective use of exaggeration, irony, pun, surprise, twist, humor, even slapstick, other kinds of things that you can use in a tall tale speech. The physical is your appearance and your body language. Are you stretching? Are you using the entire place, the entire designated speaking area? Are you exaggerating with two different things, as in the size of a fish, using your fingers or using your hands spread wide? And then your voice flexibility and volume. As you build to a pitch, is your voice building to a pitch? Is it effective in what you're saying? Does it match what you're saying? And then appropriateness to speech purpose and audience. The purpose of a tall tale speech is to entertain. Is to entertain, and using different word selections might help with that as well. Again, the content, this is all on the back of your ballot. So you have all of this at your hand when you're doing that, the judging. I'm not going to go through that. I just did for most of it. I'm going to go back here and say, let's talk about how you use the ballot when you're doing these judging in a contest. I have done several things. I have folded paper over. I have made little strips and used a ruler, a small ruler, to hide my previous scores on the first, second, or third speaker. But I had an idea, or heard an idea just this last week, about how someone said, why don't we start at the end? Put the first speaker as number 10. And that way you can fold that one over when you're finished and you will not see it. So you won't be comparing this speaker number 9, the second speaker, with the first speaker. Giving your independent scoring on each of these categories. So that's something that I had not thought about before, but it makes perfect sense to me. Let's look at these values. What suggested point values mean excellent? That's going to be the highest and only highest score. If they made absolutely perfect speech, if they did everything correct, they did their opening, their build up, their climate, everything, you would give them a 30. I think people tend to shy away from the extremes, the highest or the lowest. And I think that's not a bad thing, but if it deserves a highest score, give it to them. Based on your opinion of what they did to meet this criteria. Very good has a range of 7 points, 22 to 29 in this particular case. And then good is resulting on down. Have some things in your mind that you're looking for. If you find them, maybe bump it up a score or two, a point or two. I also heard if they're not meeting them, bump it down a little bit. I also heard this week about someone that said, one of their judges said, well, I just only give in points of 5, 75, 85, 35, 25. So you're always in the middle. That doesn't give you the discernment that you need to do when you're doing this scoring. That only gives you what happens if they miss something on a lower score and you've given them a lower 5, but they granted something that was better on the upper level. You kind of tilted that score toward a higher score if you do it that way. I'm sorry. And it could be the opposite as well. If you're doing only 5s, follow the ballot, follow the guide. It has worked for a long, long time when you use all of the range that is in the very good, good, fair, and excellent categories. Use all 30 of the numbers when you're giving your your scoring on the speaker. And since I said that, faux pas, is judging the same thing as evaluating? Absolutely not. It is not an evaluation. It is a determination of how well the criteria was met. You're not supposed to be listening with an ear as an evaluator to say, this you did well, this you might want to improve on. You're just whole case putting the numbers on there, how well they did. Where did they fall within this range on these particular categories? So use the ballot and use all the numbers on the ballot. Let's see. Filling out the ballot, how to use it. One of the things that you want to do is sign your ballot. I suggest that you do that when you're in, or when you have just finished, or when you first get there, but before the contest starts. Go ahead and sign your ballot. And the reason you want to do that is so that when you're trying to figure out, maybe you have a tie, you've gotten a tie, or you're trying to figure out if you have these people in the right order, what based on your scores, checking yourself, getting it turned in a efficient, quick manner so that the ballot counters can count and the chief judge can add up the scores, and you won't be sitting in a contest audience waiting for results. We want all the judges to be able to do that. So take that part out, signature of the judge, do it beforehand and get it out of the way. And then print your name on the other side. Secondly, you must put, if there are more than 3 contestants in a contest, you must put them in first, second, or third. You must fill out first, second, or third place on this particular ballot. If there are more than 3 and you only put down 2 names, your ballot will be invalid. I have had that happen. People just think, well, there's only one winner really, but there are three winners in this. And if you do not place it, all fill out all three places, if there are more than three contestants, then your ballot will not be counted. Let's see what else. That's all. I think on that. Okay. How do we remain anonymous as a judge? Well, one thing, we don't want you to change your name on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, we want you to just leave your name there. Don't identify yourself as judge number 4 or whatever. That eliminates the possibility of anonymity. So we don't want to do that. And like I said, sign your ballot before the contest starts. Be discreet when handing in your ballot. If you're in a room, if you're a person, and you're sitting in the middle of the table, that's going to be a tough place. Be sure to sit where the ballot counter can access you easily. And when you go into the briefing for the judges, they will identify you to the ballot counters. Yes, that breaks the anonymity, but it is also just in the functionaries that know who the judges are. That's a requirement sometimes. They will also let you know maybe where to sit. And also, if there's someone, this was an idea that was passed out to me early on. As a matter of fact, I was in a district convention and they passed out ballots to everyone. They were guest ballots. So the people that were actually judging didn't look any different than the people who were using the mock ballot. That's something that you might want to think about if you are the contest chair. Don't wave your ballot in the air if your ballot counter hasn't seen you yet. Then just kind of wait and they will come and get it. If they do not, if they have missed your ballot and they leave the room, maybe you can get up and leave the room quietly and hand it in. I hope that that doesn't happen. I hope that your ballot counters have been briefed appropriately and know how many judges there are and that they have all the ballots before they leave the room. Okay. Other frequently asked questions. What if I have a tie on my scores? Every judge must break their own tie before sending in their ballot. We don't want to have two names on one line, and that would invalidate your ballot anyway. You have to put them in the order that you perceive them to be. Can I be a judge if I am competing as a contestant? No. We answered this question the other night. And best practices recommend that you either be a judge or a contestant during the entire contest season. This was put into play probably 7 years ago. And at first I didn't understand it, but I certainly do. You can be a judge in one contest that you're not in and eliminate your competition if we do that. So think about that. I had not thought about the reasoning behind that, but it certainly makes sense again. Can I discuss the contest after it is over? No, you're not. As I said, you're not an evaluator, so don't go up to a speaker and say, here's what you should have done better. No, do not do that. And shred your ballot so that no one can know what scores you assign to what speakers. My bestie from college is in a different club. Can I still be a judge for her club? I would say no. I would say to recuse yourself. That would be the same thing as dating someone, I think, maybe even stronger. That you wouldn't want to have that in external bias that this is your bestie from college. Okay, I'm gonna take a break and answer some questions.
Fran, I
No?
have a question. I have a question for you.
Okay.
If a judge fills out the form, they've got, their choice of first, second, third. They've broken their own tie. They give the results over to the ballot counter, but they forget to sign the ballot. What?
That ballot will be invalid. That is one of the reasons we suggest that the ballot be signed before contest, so that you don't have to think about it at that time when you're trying to do your scores and put people in order. That's a great question, Chad. Thanks. Okay, more questions?
Fran, I do have a question. This is Yanni.
Hi, Yanni.
Hey, thank you for doing this, by the way, for tonight. My question is, the tie-breaking judge is very anonymous, right? Because it would be only the chief judge knowing the person, especially, I think it's the tough situation when we are in person. Ballot counter will be assigned to collect the ballots from the judges. So judges, even though they're anonymous, mostly ballot counter will know them. What is the best practice to collect the ballot from the tie-breaking judge? Do you have the chief judge approach the tie-breaking judge, or the other way around? It seems like very obvious, because a chief judge will be the only one who know tie-breaking judge. Approaching from one side or the other side, it create, I just don't know. Just tell us what is the best practice on retaking that ballot from the tie-breaking judge.
Okay, there are two things to address here. One is if the contest is virtual, and submit a ballot over Zoom to the chief judge.
Fran, I think I didn't I'm not sure whether it's my internet. I think I didn't hear the last probably 20 seconds.
Okay, we'll try it again. There are two things to consider. One, if you're on Zoom or a hybrid or a virtual contest, and you are sending your ballots to the chief judge, there are some ways that you can handle the email or the text if you're using text to transmit your ballots. If you handle the email correctly, the email will only go directly to the chief judge.
Right. The virtual part of it, I think, is a lot easier to keep that anonymous. I'm more so the best practice for the in-person.
Okay, the best practice for the in-person is to mention to the chief judge to walk around just to see that the ballot counters are collecting, and then very discreetly collect the envelope from the tiebreaker judge. And that envelope should be sealed. And when the chief judge gets it, he or she will not open that envelope until or if there is a tie that needs to be broken. Does that answer your question?
Right. Again, understanding about they're not opening it until there's a need for it, but the process of collecting it is better for the chief judge to approach the table,
right,
wherever the tie-breaking judge is sitting.
right?
Because the chief judge is the only person who knows that judge. Either chief judge approach the judges, or the judges approach the chief judge. But the best practice is for the chief judge to come to the judge, I guess.
And I would say arrange ahead of time to have that tiebreaker judge, let the chief judge arrange for that tiebreaker judge to sit in a particular place that's very convenient for her to just walk by and pick up the envelope.
Okay, thank you.
It's a challenge sometimes to keep the judges anonymous. Other questions?
Agree.
Fran, we've got a couple questions from chat.
Okay.
First one, for the eligibility forms, I'm judging both international and tall tales.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to fill out one form or two forms?
2 forms, 1 for each contest. And obviously they will have the same information on them, and you will just read the code of ethics more than one time when you sign that paper. But you do need to have, for the contest chair, you will need to have a form for each contest, even if they're held on the same day, back to back.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question. Who's responsible for finding the judges, ballot counters, and timers? Does contest chair do that, or does the chief judge do that?
I think that's a matter of choice. It used to be that the chief judge chose those people, but we're asking a lot of the chief judge for a contest that they're not putting on, they're not hosting. At the club level, I think the BPE usually is the person that becomes the contest chair, and they can choose people from within their club to be the ballot counters. And that is an introduction to contest for most of the members of our club. But sometimes it's a bit of a hassle, but that's part of the contest chair checklist, I believe, Chad. Signing or appointing the timers and the ballot counters, and even determining when you have timers, who's going to be the timer that does the majority, the chief timer, if you will, versus timer number 2, and what their roles will be. I believe it's easier to do it from the contest chair position rather than the chief judge.
Yeah, agreed. We got 3 more questions, but I don't know if there's time to do it. So I don't
There's
know.
time.
Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling then. Next up, can a virtual judge's ballot be used at in-person contests?
A virtual person's ballot.
Yeah, a virtual judge's ballot. I think the answer to this one is they're the same form. So
They
yeah,
are
the ballot. Yeah.
that would be awkward. It is the same form, and you have the form and the judging criteria on the same piece of paper. I usually do either tear mine off or cut it off if I have the opportunity before it starts, but it is the same form. If you were using it for a virtual contest, you might take a picture of it, or you might scan it or something like that and send it virtually to the chief judge. But as far as, and I think I understand why the question was asked, if you could do that and remain anonymous, that would help to do that. But as far as a contest in person, I would say there is no virtual ballot for a in-person contest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Next question. I am in 2 clubs. Can I ask a member of Club A to be a judge in the contest for Club B?
Yes. Wait a minute. A member of Club A to be a judge for the contest for Club B. Which contest are you competing in?
It's the club level contest.
Okay, even the club level. Okay, the club level, there is no restriction on being in the same club. So yes, you can. I would say as a best practice, I would not do that.
Got it.
Oh,
Follow.
okay. That was my question. Hello, this is Chamany Field. Following up on that, what is a best practice for recruiting judges? Because in my scenario, Club A and Club B are in different areas, but the same district. So I was just curious if that's not best. What would you advise for best practice?
I would like to say that the best practice would be to start early and go to the judges list that will be on D44's contest toolkit. And contact, as I said, start early. I've already committed to several. I know that many of you have, because people know that judges get hard to find when it becomes the heat of contest. But if you can't, maybe another club member, if you're doing this at the club level, a different club, someone that you know from a completely different club than what either one that you are in.
So point of correction, I think she's asking if she's a member of two clubs, can they switch to judge? And the answer is yes, correct?
That is
So Club A can judge Club B's contest.
at the club level, yes.
Yes.
I think Che was asking, she is not a contestant, right, Che? You are the member.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that should be allowed, right? Right.
Yes, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what the purpose was that was being asked, but yes. If I have two clubs, I will recruit people from my second club to judge my first club's content. And that is perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I might chime in too. As long as the member is not a member of Club A and Club B, then that can happen. But if a member is a member of Club A and of Club B, then that can create a conflict, and I don't believe that you could be a judge for a person in Club A and a judge for a person in Club B if you are a member of both of those clubs. Now, at the club level, it's a little different, but I believe that is a challenge. If you're not, it's perfect. But if you happen to be a member of both clubs, then that can be a challenge. Am I correct?
I was gonna say, point of clarification is, can club members judge their club members?
At the club level, yes.
All right, so that's just a point of correction. So.
Okay.
What about her B part where she said, can you judge both contests? So that's a good area to clarify. So if you're in Club A, you can judge Club A, or you can be like Shay and mix the judges. But can you judge both, more than one contest at the club level?
I believe that would still be a yes. At the club level. Any more chat questions, Chad?
That is all the chat questions, Fran.
Okay, I'm just going to touch on, I have one slide left, and it has to do with being a chief judge. And maybe there'll be more questions for chief judging. Chief judge, again, we've already sort of answered this one. Mayor appoint the voting judges, but they will appoint the tiebreaker judge, and that will be the only person who will know who the tiebreaker judge is. They will also schedule and hold the functionary briefing. The functionary briefing includes the judges, the timers, the ballot counters, all at one time. However, even to maintain that anonymity, there's a thing you need to do when you're sending out the email, that you use the VCC function when you're putting the judges in, so that they get the invitation, but no one else knows who the judges are. Again, it's a challenge to keep it anonymous. They should be the best listener at the contest. Why is that? They will have need to have heard any references to another speaker, any percentage of non-original content, any other thing that a protest might arise. They will collect the ballots and the timer record as they leave the room after the ballots have been picked up by the ballot counters. They will act as the chief counter, making sure that the ballot counters and his or her, the chief judge's totals agree. They will tally the votes and complete the top 3 contestant results. Those results will be determined before there are any protests addressed. If one of the top 3 has a protest and is disqualified, that will have to be announced at that time, and we'll have to figure out who the 3rd person would be if there is a protest. They will listen to the announcement of the winners to verify that they are being announced accurately, because once the winners are announced, that's it. Nothing else will be able to be changed. They are final. Then they will also handle any protests that might arise. If there's a protest on content in the international speech contest, all of the judges have to agree that the 25% was exceeded. It's very difficult to determine how much of a 5 to 7 minute speech is 25%. Basically, it's 120 minutes. So that's right at 2 minutes. But if it's spread out during the speech, it's a challenge to add all that up and say, oh, well, there was too much. But I think it becomes obvious when it's more than 25%. Provide the contest chair with the results in the order that they will be announced, and then provide the contest chair with the notification of winner form so that they can pass that up the chain to the area director. And then the area director knows who will be competing in their contest. So, any questions about Chief Judge? I know this is abbreviated, but I plan to have something, for the Chief Judge training. I have to talk with Yolanda about how we want to do that. This one was about integrity of voting judges. So. Any questions?
Hey guys, I don't have any questions, but I would like to let you guys know that Fran is working on compiling a judges list that will be dropped in the speech toolkit. The speech toolkit has been dropped in the chat, so definitely save that link so that you can go and get your forms from there. All of your judges forms and speaker, what do they call it? Eligibility, all of those, speaker profile, all of those are in the speech toolkit. And as soon as we compile our final list of judges, hopefully before November, you guys could also tap that as a resource for judging from club to, of course, the district level. Is that right, Fran?
Yes, ma'am. I hope to have that completed before the next week.
Yes, awesome.
If I call you, you want to say, yes, I'll be a chief judge. I think a lot of you have experience doing that. So I will be looking for you, and I'll have your name on my list. Anything else? Wow. 1 hour. All right.
We do have a question on the line, on the phone line.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon. Is there a test that you have to take to have your judge, to be a judge
To be
and a chief judge?
I'm going to defer that to Yolanda. We haven't talked about that. We have always had testing done about every 2 years for the list, but that list has been volcanoed for a couple of years, and not everyone stayed who was on the list and qualified. So we have to determine whether or not there would be a test. Yolanda?
I'm going to go with more of a survey of
Okay.
knowledge. So
Okay.
that's what we'll do when we put out our clarion call for our judges. But the list will not just be for chief judge, it will be for judges in general. And then we'll mark and notate who could or would be a best candidate for chief judge. Because it's a different skill set for sure.
Yes, that's what I was asking for both of them.
Yeah, that list will be one. And again, it'll drop in the speech toolkit. Speech toolkit. So if you, oh, but you're on the phone, so you didn't see the chat.
Right.
But it is district44.org/speech contest toolkit with an S, contests with an S. district44.org/speech contest toolkit, contest with an S. And Fran promised it within the next week, but definitely before November 1.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have another question. Is there a criteria where you have to be in Toastmasters a certain amount of time to become one of the criteria for becoming a judge?
Yes, that was back one of the slides before now, but the criteria is.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Hello?
Yes, it's her line.
Okay. All right. The criteria is that you have to be a paid member and that you have been a Toastmaster for 6 months and that you have completed 2 levels in pathways or 6 speeches in the legacy program. I don't think she's on anymore. But that is the criteria after the club level for area, division, and district.
Could you repeat that once more?
Okay, the criteria is that you have to be a paid member and that you have to have been a paid member for 6 months, that you have completed 2 levels in any path, and that you have completed 6 speeches from the competent communicator manual so that you have the qualification for being a judge. Shay, does that make sense?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. I am finished. I appreciate that you joined me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I apologize for not having a camera. I don't know. I am blue when I put my camera on, and I'm not in Smurf mode right at the moment, so we don't want to be blue. All right. Anyone else? Okay, Barb. Bye. We'll see you guys later. Enjoy your evening.
We thank you for joining. Check us out tomorrow at 7 o'clock for our live Q&A with our past contestants. And who else will be on that, Chad, tomorrow?
We're going to have folks from the contest chair position, contest master, and chief judge.
You can ask all the questions you need to. So jump in tomorrow. And we're also doing, if you missed one, you can catch us on YouTube or on Facebook on Saturday, where all of our contest trainings will drop again. So please share with your clubs. We'll see you tomorrow at 7.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Fran.
We miss you, Dolores Davis.
I'm coming back.